So it's 2025, and that means I've been cubing for just about 10 years. In that time, I've been to a couple dozen competitions, and I even started my own cube store. But there's still one thing I can't do, and that's solving a Rubik's Cube in less than 10 seconds. For my last update, I got an official 12.0 average, which is really good for me, but it's time we start getting sub 10 averages. Speed cubing is all about speed. Anyways, but what makes a solve fast? Obviously you have time, right? So we'll put time, but what takes up time during a solve, right? So there's two main things, right? There is the number of moves you do, and then there is how fast you turn the cube. So turning speed. And then there's a third factor. The third factor can be looked over a lot of times, but the third factor here is time in between. Oh, that's not legible. But anyways, so the third factor is like how long you spend in between when you're actually not moving. Technically that could be a part of turning speed, but it's very important to acknowledge it as its own thing. Now the question is, how do we get better at these 1, 2, 3 things? First up, number of moves. For the number of moves, we need to make sure that we're using good algorithms. So let's write that first. So we have good algs, where the move count isn't too high. And then we also need to make sure that we're using good F2L. So we'll say good F2L. And then finally, well, we'll do good cross. Good cross. And then the final one is we make sure we're not wasting moves. If we're doing an unnecessary rotation or unnecessary U moves or inserts, that's bad. So we'll write extra moves. So we have those main 4 factors of number of moves. And then after number of moves, the next thing was turning speed, right? So how fast you're actually turning. So turning speed, obviously you need practice. And then obviously good algs can help. Algs where they don't put you in like awkward positions too much. So we'll say good algs. And then finally, arguably most important, is we need good finger tricks. With good finger tricks, speed will kind of just come with time. We don't even have to necessarily push ourselves to go too fast. But if your hands are flowing from one move to the next, then you tend to just get faster over time versus turning really fast and then trying to introduce speed. It's a lot harder to make the solves more fluid. So that is the 3 main things for turning speed. And then lastly, time in between. Time in between also could be known as look ahead, is the time in between your algorithms or your moves. It's important that the time isn't filled with unnecessary moves so that there's no time in between. But that's pretty obvious. That goes with move count or number of moves. But the main thing with time in between is deliberate practice. Just practicing look ahead, practicing slow solves, and just paying attention to where things go. So for time in between, we're going to say practice. While there is some overlap, that gives us 5 things that we can work on to improve those 3 categories. First, we have practice solves for turning speed and time in between. Then algs for number of moves and turning speed, finger tricks for turning speed, F2L and cross efficiency for number of moves, and extra moves and rotations for number of moves and a little bit time in between too. For 10 minutes to sub 10, I can just pick one of these things that I want to work on, and I can work on that for that day or for that 10 minutes, and we'll see what happens over time. If you guys made it this far, leave a comment to let me know what your speed cubing goals are, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. Anyways, see you guys next time.